Death Wish by Adekunle Adefarati Matthew. Note by the author. Stories like this are never easy to write, and they are certainly not easy to live. This book grew out of the quiet corners of life, those places where pain hides in plain sight, where a smile can mask a storm, and where the world keeps moving even when your own heart feels stuck. I wrote this because too many people walk through life carrying invisible weights, believing their darkness disqualifies them from love, purpose, or joy. I wanted to break that silence. Tolu's journey isn't just fiction. It's a mirror reflecting what many battle behind closed doors. Depression is real. Hopelessness is real. The terrifying thought that life might not be worth living is real. But so is recovery. So is healing. So is a slow, steady return of light. I'm not writing as someone who has all the answers, and I'm not claiming to speak for everyone's experience. What I do believe is this: every life has value, even when the person living it cannot see that value at all. Pain can convince us we are alone, but isolation lies. There are hands reaching, people listening, and spaces where your story will not be judged or dismissed. If you are reading this while you're struggling, this is not the end of your story. You don't have to pretend you're fine. You don't have to be strong all the time. And you don't have to walk through the fog alone. Asking for help isn't weakness. It's a strategy. It's the first move toward reclaiming your mind from the lies it tells in its darkest moment. If you've ever felt like Tolu, like a burden, like a problem, like a mistake, please know that you're none of those things. You're human. You're trying. You're surviving. Some days survival is enough. This book is my small contribution to a much larger conversation. Mental health deserves much awareness, more compassion, and more access to support, especially here in Nigeria, where so many still suffer in silence due to stigma, culture, or lack of resources. If this story helps even one person feel seen, understood, or encouraged to seek help, then it has done its work. Let this book be a quiet reminder. Healing is not linear. Recovery is not perfect. But life is still worth the effort. Chapter 1. Morning Light. Tolu's phone began its soft vibration before dawn, humming against the pillow like a restless thought. She reached for it blindly, eyes still heavy. Madame Fiancée, Korede's voice floated in, warm but with that undertone of legal stress he could never quite hide. Are you awake or forming busy, madame? Her mouth curved into a sleepy smile. Let me even open my eyes first, she murmured. You don't need eyes to dismiss me, he said, and the familiar grin slipped through the speaker. Their banter danced effortlessly, the way it always did. Teasing, affectionate, comforting. Yet beneath Korede's joke, she caught it. A sigh didn't finish. A pause he brushed away too quickly. Everything good? She asked softly. Yeah, yeah, he replied too fast. Just fuel price wahala. We move. She didn't press. She rarely did. It was easier to smooth over tension than dig into it. By the time she showered and dressed, still on the call, she was threading through the noise of her street. Okadas zigzagging like they had 9 lives, neighbors shouting greetings over buckets of water. Tolu, don't forget dinner tonight. Korede reminded. Yes, sir. She saluted, joking, right before an Okada brushed too close. Ah, bros, easy now. She snapped at the rider. The man eased. Sister, abeg shift jare. Korede chuckled. Early morning wallowed. If Lagos won't let somebody be great, she muttered, shaking her head as she crossed to a bus stop. But even in the midst of chaos, there was a rhythm to a life that felt right, familiar, almost perfect. Almost. She climbed into the staff bus late, slipping into her seat with an apologetic smile. One colleague, Kenny, barely looked up. She couldn't tell if he was in a mood or if she had unknowingly annoyed him the day before. Those were the tiny workplace puzzles she always tried not to take personally. Work was buzzing. A team presentation, the Lagos Market Outreach Initiative, was scheduled for noon. Weeks of spreadsheets, late nights, and extra hours she hadn't been paid for. Her salaries had been coming soon for almost 3 weeks, but she tried not to think about it. Rent was also coming soon. She didn't think about that either. She focused instead on the slides she had memorized like scriptures. When she stood before the conferencing room, her palms were sweaty, something she hid by clasping her hands behind her back. She spoke about customers' behavior patterns, demographics shifts, digital engagement, words that sounded bigger than the knot of imposter syndrome tightening in her stomach. Halfway through, she noticed the manager leaning back, unreadable. Kenny's face was blank, almost suspicious. For a moment, she wondered if she was overselling herself. When she finished, the room stayed quiet. Then applause broke out, loud, surprising her. Her manager nodded. This is strong work, Tolu. Keep this consistency. She bowed her head slightly, trying to absorb the praise without overthinking Kenny's faint high roll on the side. When she returned to her seat, her chest buzzed with pride and disbelief. It wasn't fireworks this time, more like a quiet trembling joy. During lunch, she video called her mother. Mama picked instantly, already dramatic. My daughter, have you checked the Ashoke samples I sent? The wine color is touching my spirit. Mommy, calm down. Tolu laughed. We've not even booked venue. Venue will come. Mama waved off. A good man is ready to marry you. Keep things moving. Time does not wait for anybody. Mama said it lovingly, but the tone carried its usual pressure. A reminder that everyone was watching her timeline. That younger cousins had weddings lined up. That she was expected to deliver joy to the family, not stories of delay. Tolu brushed it off gently. She always did. The afternoon drifted smoothly. Email notifications chimed like soft taps. One message, a meeting rescheduled, blinked in bold. She glanced at it but didn't open it. It didn't seem important. Later that evening, she met Korede at their usual restaurant, a cozy place where the lights were dim and the waitress already knew their order. He reached across the table for her hand. She squeezed his back. Tolu, he said quietly as their food arrived. Next year, I want us to settle properly. Her heart expanded. So do I. They talked about apartment options, baby names that made both laugh, paint colors for their future living room. Mid-conversation, Korede paused, rubbing his temple. You all right? She asked. Yeah, work stuff, he said, smiling away the worry. Let's not spoil the vibe. They brushed it aside the way young lovers brush aside anything too heavy, by choosing the sweeter moment over the truer one. When he walked her to the junction for a bus home, he kissed her forehead. Tomorrow will be even better, he promised. She nodded, believing him with her whole chest. Life felt steady, sweet, certain, almost too certain. As she reached home, her phone buzzed. A new email. She glanced at the subject line. Staff restructuring, important notice. She frowned lightly, then shrugged. I'll check it tomorrow, she whispered to herself. And that tiny choice, dismissed, postponed, hung in the air like a quiet shift in the wind.